I barely escaped the road everyone warned me about, and only one thing in my car changed. There's a silence that isn't quiet. You don't know it exists until you've heard it, and by then, it's too fucking late. It's been almost a decade. I live 3 states away now, in a city so big you can't see the stars. But sometimes, when a bad storm rolls in and the power goes out, I hear it again. That dead, heavy, waiting silence. And I'm right back on County Road 11. Back then, I was working graveyard shifts at a food distribution warehouse in the kind of small Appalachian town that clings to the hollows like moss. It was a life measured in pallets and punch cards. On November 4th, 2016, a storm had been choking us for 3 days straight. Not rain, but a biblical flood. The river was a muddy beast, and the world had shrunk to the few roads that weren't underwater. They let us out early, around 2 a.m. The weariness was bone deep. All I wanted was my bed. I got in my beat-up sedan, the engine groaning to life, and the GPS on my phone lit up immediately. Road closed. Flash flood warning. Rerouting. I didn't even look at the new path, just followed the placid voice telling me where to turn. It wasn't until I saw the rusted, bullet-pocked sign that a cold knot formed in my stomach. County, Road 11. The place we used to tell stories about. The road the state abandoned when the new highway came through. A scar of cracked asphalt that vanished into the blackest parts of the state forest. People went missing out there. Cars found with the doors open and the keys still in the ignition. They said you could hear things in the woods. Things that sounded almost human. The second my tires crossed from the slick county blacktop onto that crumbling road, the rain stopped. Not trickled, not eased up. It just vanished. 1 second my wipers were fighting a losing battle. The next, they were screeching across a perfectly dry windshield. The silence that fell was so absolute it hurt my ears. I fumbled with the radio, cranking a classic rock station until the static felt loud enough to be a shield. The road was a tunnel. The ancient trees on either side were too thick, their branches lacing together overhead, blocking out the sky. They leaned in, like they were whispering about me. About a mile in, my headlights caught a stop sign. It was just hammered into the dirt shoulder. No crossroads, no intersecting path. Just the road, the trees, and this octagonal red command to stop for absolutely nothing. A tremor of unease went through me. A bad joke, maybe. I kept driving. My knuckles were white on the steering wheel. A few minutes later, another one. This one wasn't a stop sign. The letters were stark white against the red. Go back. Okay, that's not funny. That's not a prank. My heart started doing a heavy, clumsy drum beat against my ribs. My foot eased off the gas. Turn around? Go back into the flood? No. This was just some local bullshit. Had to be. Then I saw the lights. Up ahead, pulled half into a ditch. A blue pickup truck. The driver's side door was hanging open, swaying slightly in a wind I couldn't feel. The hazard lights blinked, a slow, dying pulse. Against every single screaming instinct, I pulled up behind it. The air outside the car was thick. Heavy and damp and cold, but still no rain. I could hear the roar of the flooded river somewhere far off, a constant, deep-throated growl. But here, on this road, there was nothing. No crickets, no frogs, no wind. Just that dead, waiting silence. I walked toward the truck, my boots crunching on loose gravel. Hello? I called out. The sound was swallowed by the dark. The dome light was on inside the cab. The floor mat was caked in thick, black mud. The driver's seat was soaked, a dark stain spreading across the fabric, as if someone had sat there dripping wet. On the passenger seat, half submerged in a puddle of muddy water, was a small plastic yellow duck, the kind a toddler would have in the bath. A chill that had nothing to do with the night air crawled up my spine. Then the truck's radio crackled to life. It wasn't music. It was a voice, distorted and low, like it was being spoken through a mouthful of gravel and water. Look behind you, Nico. My blood turned to ice. My name. It said my name. My body refused to move. Every muscle was locked. Don't turn around, don't turn around, don't fucking turn around. But it wasn't a choice. My head turned on its own, slow and creaking, like a rusty hinge. She was standing there, between me and my car, Zora. She'd been dead for 2 years. A patch of black ice, a concrete abutment, gone. And now she was standing on County Road 11, drenched, her cheap summer dress plastered to her skin. Her hair was matted with mud and leaves. Her skin had the pale, bloated look of something left in water too long. And her eyes, they were just white. Solid, milky white orbs. "Nico?" I whispered. It wasn't even a sound, just a breath. Her head tilted at an angle that wasn't right. A wet, slick sound of bone grinding. Her voice was a gurgle, the words bubbling up from lungs full of river water. "You told me the roads were clear, Nico. The air left my body. The last fight we'd had." She wanted to go see her sister. I'd looked at the weather report, told her it was just a dusting, that the roads were fine. A stupid, selfish lie because I wanted her to stay home with me. A lie I'd told myself 1,000 times didn't matter. "Zora, you told me it was safe." Her jaw unhinged with a soft, wet pop. A torrent of black, muddy water poured from her mouth onto the asphalt. She took a step, her leg bending the wrong way at the knee. Then another. I didn't think. I just reacted. I scrambled backward, falling over my own feet, and crab walked to my car. I threw the door open and dove inside, fumbling for the lock. Her pale face slammed against the driver's side window an instant later, leaving a smear of mud and something darker. Her white eyes stared into mine. "They're all here, Nico," she gurgled, her voice vibrating through the glass. "Everyone who gets lost. We're all here." I slammed the car into reverse and stomped on the gas. The tires shrieked. She was still standing there in the road, a pale, dripping statue. I cranked the wheel, put it in drive, and floored it. I didn't swerve. I aimed right for her. There was a sickening, wet thud. The car bucked up, then down again. In the rearview mirror, I saw a crumpled shape rolling in the wash of my taillights. I didn't slow down. The speedometer climbed. 80, 90, 100. The trees blurred into a solid wall of black on either side. My breath was coming in ragged sobs. Then the GPS spoke, its calm female voice a stark violation of the panic in the car. "In 200 feet, turn around." "Fuck you," I screamed at the phone. And then I saw the headlights, coming toward me, in my lane. I slammed on the brakes, the tires locking up, the car slewing sideways. The other car screeched to a halt too, maybe 50 feet away. We just sat there, 2 sets of high beams cutting through the oppressive dark. My heart hammered. A drunk driver? Someone else lost? I let my car creep forward. The other car did the same. We crawled toward each other, inch by painful inch. As it got closer, I felt a wave of nausea. It was my car. Same faded blue sedan. Same long scratch down the passenger side from a shopping cart last year. Same goddamn crack in the windshield from where a rock flew up on the highway. And dangling from the rearview mirror, a small carved wooden wolf my grandfather had given me. My hands started to shake uncontrollably. I stopped my car when it was parallel to the other one. I forced myself to look over. I saw myself, staring back at me. But he wasn't scared. He wasn't sweating or shaking. He was perfectly calm. His hands rested easily on the steering wheel. He looked serene, peaceful. He made eye contact with me, and he smiled. A slow, wide smile that didn't touch his eyes. A smile that was all wrong. The radio crackled on, filling my car. It was my own voice, perfectly clear. "No static. We've been waiting for you," my voice said. "Welcome home." My reflection, my other self, leaned forward. He tapped a little rhythm on his window with his forefinger. Tap, 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 tap. A stupid little code my grandfather and I used to use. A code nobody else knew. Then he raised his other hand, and I saw he was holding a little yellow plastic duck. I screamed and slammed my foot on the accelerator. The engine roared and the car shot forward. I didn't look back. The road ahead began to narrow, the trees bending down so low their branches scraped and screeched across the roof. I glanced at the speedometer. 85. Something dark was keeping pace with me in the woods to my right. a lanky, fluid shadow moving between the trees. I pushed the pedal to the floor, but it stayed right there, just at the edge of my vision. The GPS screen flickered. The map disappeared. Words appeared. 97 miles to destination. It flickered again. 54 miles to destination. It flickered again. Hame. I risked a glance back to the woods. The shadow was gone. Whump. The whole car shuddered. Something heavy had landed on the roof. Before I could even process it, the driver's side window exploded inward, showering me with glass. A long, thin arm, caked in black mud and wrapped in tangled roots, shot through the opening. Its fingers, like sharpened pieces of shale, grabbed the steering wheel. I yelled, punching at it, but it was like hitting stone. It wrenched the wheel back and forth, sending the car fishtailing wildly down the narrow road. The radio screamed to life, a cacophony of voices, all the people who'd ever been lost on this road, a chorus of watery despair. You can't leave. You can't leave us. No one ever leaves. On pure instinct, I stomped on the brakes. The car screamed to a halt. The inertia sent the thing on my roof flying over the hood and onto the road in front of me, illuminated in my headlights. It was impossibly tall and thin, a thing made of river mud, gnarled branches, and pale bone. Its limbs were too long, bending at angles that made me sick. It wore a skirt of woven reeds and what looked like strips of hide. Its head was a horrifying totem of 3 deer skulls, lashed together with wet vines, dark water dripping from their empty eye sockets. It rose to its feet, the sound of rushing water seeming to pour from its chest, and it took a step toward me. I didn't hesitate. I threw the car in drive and floored it. There was that same terrible thud, louder this time, followed by the crunch of bone and wood. I felt it drag under the car. I closed my eyes and just kept my foot pressed to the floor. I don't know how long I drove like that, blindly speeding into nothing. Then I heard it, a soft tapping on the windshield. Rain. I opened my eyes. I was sitting at a flashing yellow light at the intersection of Main Street and the highway, back in my town. The storm was back, the rain coming down in sheets. It was 2:30 a.m. I drove home in a stupor. I sat in my driveway for an hour, the engine running, just staring at my front door. Finally, I bolted from the car and into the house, locking and deadbolting everything behind me. The next morning, in the weak gray light, I went out to look at the car. There wasn't a scratch on it, no dents, no mud. The driver's side window was perfectly intact. It was all exactly as it had been, except for one thing. Hanging from my rearview mirror wasn't the little wooden wolf my grandfather had carved for me. In its place was a small, twisted piece of dark driftwood, swollen with water, vaguely shaped like a screaming man. I sold the car the next week. I packed a bag and left that town and never, ever looked back. So if your GPS ever tries to send you down a road that doesn't feel right, a road that feels too quiet and too dark, just turn the fuck around. Some places aren't meant to be found, and whatever is waiting there, it's always waiting for one more.